Hello, everyone. I think we had an issue with the sound, but it should be fixed now. Let me know in the chat box if you can hear me. Amazing. I'm so sorry for that. But now I think we have everyone with us. All right. Hello, everyone. So I was just going through these comments and saying hi to you guys. Hello and welcome to day 2 of the online writing challenge. I see so many of you back here with me, and I am ready to dive in. Let's not waste any more time. So welcome to day 2. Let's do a quick recap about yesterday's session. So yesterday we talked about Medium as a platform to use for those of you who are into long form writing. So if you have a message that is just deeper than a few characters, a few words, and you enjoy writing more than you enjoy creating short videos, for example, or short form captions, why you should pay close attention to Medium in this year. Then we also talked about supercharging yourself and how this actually means making use of opportunities, tools, and platforms that are here right now. So you don't actually chase new trends and are afraid of anything that is coming up, but that you use those opportunities to your advantage. We also talked about how people are not looking for masses of content anymore, but they're looking for writers they can trust and connect with. And in today's training, we are going to dive even deeper into that aspect of content creation. But first of all, I wanted to say congrats and thank you to all of you who have completed our amazing homeworks and exercises. We've been going through the community all day long, reading your comments, reading your amazing replies, and we're so glad that so many of you had actually, have come up with so many amazing answers and even thought-provoking questions on where you want to take this journey. So thank you for sharing your answers with us. We really appreciate that. And we know that you can learn a lot from the community by supporting each other, by sharing your answers and questions with the other participants in the group. So this is amazing. And we are really amazed by seeing all of your hard work and all of your amazing answers. We also gave away 2 VIP upgrades to participants in the group today. So if this was you, hello and welcome. We'll see you in the VIP session right after this session. And we have prepared some amazing prizes for the upcoming days as well. So make sure to check out the challenge community and stay up to date on what we are doing and what we're giving away. And if any of that sounds exciting, make sure you're just an active participant, supporting other members and sharing your journey with us. All right, so we're in day 2 now, and today's main goal is helping you create a strong profile for a specific reason. It is so you can start to connect with writers and readers. And even if you've been on a writing platform like Medium for a long time already, this might be priceless, because a lot of people totally miss the idea of what your profile and writer's bio should actually do. I see so many profiles every single day that are actually weak, and that might be a reason for people not to follow you and not to pay attention to your work. And that's obviously something we absolutely want to avoid. I will make an effort to go through my slides relatively quickly this time for this session. So we potentially have a few minutes at the end of the session to answer some questions. I took screenshots of some of your questions of yesterday's training. I've been browsing through the group, and I'm really looking forward to taking a look at the comment section here and the comment section in the community and see how else we can support you in this session. But let's dive in. So the reason we want to create a strong profile and we want to create with writers and readers is not just the fact that we want to grow our audience, but on Medium specifically, there's another reason. We want you to join the Medium Partner Program if you can. We already talked about Medium's Partner Program briefly in yesterday's session, and we're gonna talk about it in more detail in the upcoming sessions. But essentially, Medium's Partner Program allows you to monetize your work directly on Medium because readers of the platform are paying to get access to stories. And if you as a writer get views on your stories, you are able to get a share of their membership fee. That is how the entire system works. But in order to join the partner program, you have to meet some eligibility criteria. And one of those is to gain your first 100 followers, which is actually amazing because this is a way for you to get connected with the first few writers and readers, to get some feedback, to get into the mindset of being a writer, of showing up, of connecting with your community, instead of just randomly publishing posts and hoping for people to like them. So the 100 follower barrier is actually not very high if you take your work seriously and if you pay attention to all the stuff that we are going to discuss here. And honestly, what I'm going to share with you is true for anyone who has built an audience, but especially for me. I didn't build my audience overnight. Like, nobody builds a massive audience overnight. I started to write on the side, and for a very long time, I really struggled. And I was doing writing as a side hustle besides dozens of different other projects while I was still studying and while I was hosting workshops and trainings and seminars. And I was really overwhelmed by the sheer amount of different projects that I had and by the packed schedule that I had. I was really working a lot because I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. And this is kind of the whole point here. If you are not able to focus, if you don't know what you want to do, you might feel like you are keeping a lot of doors open. And that might sound like a good thing in the beginning because you think you have different choices, you have opportunities, you don't want to say no to anything. But at the end of the day, you just end up with a lot more to-dos on your daily task list. You end up with a lot more commitments and with a lot more to do. And for me personally, this is actually something I want to avoid. I want to work fewer hours, have a greater impact, not because I'm lazy, but because I want to have a meaningful work that actually makes a difference in my life, but also in other people's lives. And that transition doesn't happen overnight. It can happen very quickly if you pay attention, if you're a bit lucky, if you go viral a few times, and if you have a few tips and mentors maybe along the way who guide you through some shortcuts. But still, it is not something that happens overnight. And at the same time, it's not rocket science. I mean, look at all the people who have done it before you. Not just on Medium, but on any platform. There are people who are reaching the masses, who are growing audiences, who are going viral, who are building digital businesses, like all the time. You can look up to anyone you want, anyone you personally feel related to. And even though it requires consistency and a solid strategy and knowing and understanding platforms and understanding how to write, it is not something you cannot do. Just look at all the people who've done it before you, and you'll probably see that it is something that's doable for you as well. And at the end of the day, the question is not, can you do this? Because yes, you can. If people have done it before, you can do it as well. But the question is, would you enjoy the journey? Would you enjoy showing up consistently? Because there is no finish line for writing. Writing is something you either enjoy and you can imagine yourself doing it for a very long time because you want to show up and you have an important message that you really want to share with the world. And you just can totally see yourself writing for more than a couple of weeks or months. And so would you enjoy building genuine relationships? If you hate getting in touch with people, if you hate reading comments on your work, you're not open for feedback, you're probably going to struggle because this requires some sense of human relationships and a touch. You don't have to be on video. You don't have to show your face at all if you don't want to. You can use a pen name. You never have to share anything personal about your life if you don't want to. But it's real human beings reading your stories, so you should care about those people who are paying to read your stories. And it's also a question like, do you enjoy improving your craft? Are you open for feedback? Are you open for making changes that are suggested to you by people who've been there and who've walked through this path before you? Could you imagine yourself doing this for long enough? Could you imagine yourself sticking to proven methods and strategies, even if you believe that you should be writing differently, or you have a background in writing, maybe you've published books before, or you are in academic writing, and some of the stuff that I might be telling you here, or especially in tomorrow's training, might feel a little off for you. They might feel a little weird. You might feel like that's not how you're used to write, but that's how you should write on the internet. And it's also stepping into the footprints of those who've been there and done that. I'm here because I want to share what I have learned, so you can use the same strategies, the same methods, and at the same time avoid the mistakes that I made, but also that I see so many other people make every single day. So in a nutshell, we want to get clear today. And one way we are going to do that is by pulling the target closer. This is something I love to talk about because I'm a huge fan of baby steps. I'm a fan of baby steps because I think they're most of the time more effective in achieving your goals than having huge goals and having no idea how to get there. And instead of ridiculous expectations, I actually prefer building your career, your audience, your baseline step by step. You start somewhere, you make one step, then you make another step, then you make another step. If I tell you your goal for the end of this year is to have 10,000 followers and you're starting from scratch, that might feel a little overwhelming. If anyone had told me 5 years ago that I have to write 500 articles, I would have probably never even started because I would have freaked out. I would have told myself, I cannot write 500 articles. This is so much work. It's so much time. I don't have ideas for hundreds of articles. Yet here I am. Over the years, I've built this catalog of hundreds of articles that are out there, that are being discovered and seen because I went one day after the other, because I didn't expect myself to have this ridiculous or sudden explosion, but I just tackled one day after the other. I finished one article after the other. I learned one step after the other. And you need to be in control, but not just of your writing, but also of this process. Don't rush yourself. Don't get intimidated by people who are sharing their huge goals or their huge numbers. The only question is which journey works for you, or which journey do you feel comfortable with? How would you like to grow your audience and income and reputation, credibility? Everyone's journey looks different. I'm sharing a lot of different parts of my journey here, but that doesn't mean yours needs to look exactly the same. It won't, because you're a different person than me. You have different preferences. You have a different message. You have a different background. And that's perfectly fine. You're here to find out what your journey could possibly look like. And we're also going to talk about this in detail in day 5 of this challenge. But let's dig deeper into today's question, which is, what do you want to be known for? This is essentially what we're talking about today, because this builds the foundation of anything you will really publish online. And there is a quote often attributed to Jeff Bezos that says, your brand is what people say about you when you are not in the room. And I love this quote because a lot of people miss the point of personal branding because they think it's about colors and logos and slogans, but it's not. You have a brand, you have a reputation, regardless of whether you want it or not. Each of you could go to your friends, family members, colleagues, and ask what they think about you. And what they say is essentially your brand. When we say brand, we often talk about, or we think about colors, logos, slogans, etc. But that's not the point. As a writer, you kind of make up a brand just by being you and by getting yourself out there, by publishing articles. It's essentially what people believe to be true about you, regardless of what you want to be true. You don't have to build a personal brand on purpose. You are doing it just by being alive. If you're not on the internet, you are doing it for the people surrounding you in real life. If you are creating publicly, you are building a brand, you're building a perception regardless of your intention. And if we talk about it in more detail, you have some sort of perception on me, right? You think about me as a writer, maybe as an entrepreneur, maybe as a coach here during this challenge. This is what you see on the outside. But of course, there are a lot more highlights about who I am as a person than just these 3 points. I'm not just a writer, just an entrepreneur, and just a coach. This is not what I do all the time. This is not my entire passion, right? If we dig deeper, there are a lot of nuances of my life that you are probably not familiar with because I don't share them in my work. And I'm sharing them here just to give you an idea. I'm a big sister. I have 2 younger siblings that I love. I'm a soon to be bride. I'm hopefully gonna get married next year. So a lot of wedding stuff coming up. I love watching Friends. I'm totally obsessed with Friends. And I love playing board games. We have game nights at least once per week. So I spend a lot of time doing that. I love dancing and going out. I'm a vegetarian. And I could talk about all these things in my writing and in my videos and in my emails, right? I could talk to you about planning a wedding. I could talk to you about what it is like to be a big sister in a family of immigrants. I could talk to you about what I learned playing board games or about following a plant-based diet and its importance. I could do all of that, and I would passionately be able to share the details. But that's not what my work is about. This is me as a person. And of course, this picture is still not complete. But this is not my work persona. This is not my writer's persona. And if we're honest, all these things don't really matter. I am here to help you cross a certain bridge, right? To help you become a better writer, help you achieve your writing goals. It doesn't matter whether I love board games or whether I'm a vegetarian or what my political thoughts are. That's not the point. I'm here to help you cross a very specific bridge in your journey as a writer. And that's all the information you really need to know about me. And the truth is, you can be a multi-passionate person while being a very focused writer or entrepreneur or creator, however you like to call yourself. You can use those terms however you want. Just because I'm only talking about being a writer and improving your writing doesn't mean this is my entire personality. And this is true for all of you. But if you want to write full time, it makes a lot of sense to be very focused in your writing so that you can grow your audience fast and also monetize more quickly. And here's an exercise that I will ask you to complete today. Let's imagine you had a billboard. You have a billboard somewhere on the street that thousands of people see every single day. What would you put on that billboard? Is it an image? Is it a meme? Is it a message that you want to share with those thousands of people who are seeing this billboard every single day? And in reality, the internet is your billboard. You have the opportunity to reach thousands of people every single day and to share an important message, to share your experiences, to share your knowledge with them. But you don't have hundreds of billboards. You cannot reach people in all different corners in terms of, if you think in terms of interests. You could possibly, but then maybe not thousands would see your billboard, but only a couple of people see this billboard, a couple of other people see the other billboard, and so on. But if you just focus on one and on placing this one billboard somewhere prominently and having a strong message, you're going to have a stronger impact. And we're going to ask you to dig into this question in more detail in today's homework. But for now, let's look at a few examples. The way I see this, and I have this very clearly stated on my Medium profile, is that you can kind of create your billboard message in your bio, but not just on your bio. If I had a billboard, I would probably tell people that they deserve a life they genuinely love, but that they have to work for it, that it's not magic, that it's not going to happen overnight, that it requires consistency and patience and doing the actual work apart from doing all the mindset work and believing that you can do it. So if I had a billboard, that would be my message. And this is the message that I share in pretty much all my articles when I write about personal growth, but also when I write about building a business, building a writing career, building your audience, being a more effective and efficient writer. I want to give you the feeling and I want to encourage you to believe that you have everything that you need to make this work, no matter if it's a writing career or any other kind of goal that you want to achieve. But there is the work part that you need to become familiar with, and that you have to, kind of internalize as well. If I had a billboard, that would be the message that I had in mind and that I would share. Now the question is, what is your message? And we really want to avoid confusing our readers with different messages, different ideas, different topics and perspectives. And instead, we want to share a core message over and over again to become a trusted voice. And I know this might freak some of you out now, but hear me out. This does not mean that you cannot write about different topics. It does not mean you have to write about the exact same topic over and over again. That would be horrible, right? If you take a look at my Medium profile, I am writing about lots of different topics, but my key messages are kind of the same. I try to communicate the same message in terms of encouraging people to build a life they love, in terms of encouraging people to build careers they love, and do the kind of work they genuinely enjoy. And you can do the same. You can write about lots of different topics while staying true to a few core topics and really being the most valuable creator for a specific group of people who love to read your stories. And there are so many benefits to doing that. There are benefits like the fact that you're going to be a better writer a lot faster. Each topic, or writing about each category or topic, has its different pros and cons, has its different strengths and weaknesses. If you write about business, you're gonna write a little differently than if you write about relationships, or if you write personal essays, or if you tell stories that are not related to advice. Different types of stories, different types of writing require a different skill set. And if you're a beginning writer on the internet, it's gonna be hard to become a great writer in all those different areas. It's really hard to become a great writer when giving advice, but also when telling personal stories, writing essays, writing poems, writing stories. It's a lot easier to become really good at one thing. In my case, that is nonfiction writing, that is advice-driven writing. And I don't even try to write other stuff because I know this is the thing that I'm good at, and I have a competitive advantage over other writers because I've done it hundreds of times and I really know what to do to stand out and to attract and serve my audience. When you do that, you obviously build credibility. If you do the same thing over and over again, people start to trust you. You build a loyal audience because they see you showing up consistently. They see that they can trust you. And last but not least, this is so important, when you engage with the same topics and the same core ideas more often, coming up with ideas becomes so easy. And a lot of people believe the opposite. They think that they might run out of ideas if they don't engage in different topics. They believe that they cannot write about similar things over again, but that's not true. If you stay focused and you try to be really good at one thing, you are going to have ideas pop up everywhere. And the reason for that is that you will be able to see someone else going viral with a piece of content, no matter if that's on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and you'll be able to relate that back to your topic and use that as an idea to generate your own piece of content based on someone else's success. So maybe you see an article going viral about productivity and you are in the health and fitness niche. You're able to use that kind of title or the hook that person used on their LinkedIn, on their Twitter, Instagram, and you use it back to write a long form article, just using the same title formula, for example, or using a similar hook in your introduction. And that is going to be kind of a mindset. I always love to think of idea generation as a mindset because it's becoming so much easier over time. And luckily, this is not just my opinion, but this is also what Medium has been sharing officially lately. So if you've been part of my community for a while, you might have watched some of my recent videos with the new Medium CEO, where we talked about his plans for the future, as well as changes that might be coming up. And he very clearly communicated in our videos, but also in the recent posts he shared, that Medium wants to be a place where people can find trusted voices, where people can find writers who know what they're talking about. And guess what? If you talk about 500 different topics, if I see your profile, I scroll through it, and every article is totally unrelated and doesn't really tell me who you are and what you do, it's going to be hard to build that trust. It's going to be hard for me to believe that you really know what you're talking about. So this is not just my opinion, but this is also, it's the kind of advice I've been giving for years. But now we're seeing it officially. We're seeing a shift in people wanting to learn from writers and creators who actually stick to their message and who show up consistently. And Medium as a platform will also start to reward that, which I think is actually amazing for those who take this journey seriously and who really care about their audience, and who can let go of some of their passions and let those passions be passions instead of turning them all into writing work. And the beautiful thing about this is that you only need to be one step ahead of someone in order to help them with an article you write. You don't have to be an ultimate expert. You don't need formal education. You don't need years of experience in order to share something that you have learned in your own life. You can help people make a tiny transformation. You can guide them through a tiny bridge, and that's going to be full of value as well. So in case you missed yesterday's training, we talked about how your content should form a bridge. If you create content on the internet, you always want to help people get from one point to the other. You want to help them get from one side of the bridge to the other side of the bridge. If someone's looking for advice, your bridge is the advice that you are giving. If someone is having a bad day, maybe you are writing funny stories and your bridge is basically making the day of this person a little bit brighter. If somebody is feeling like they're completely lost and they are experiencing struggles in their lives and they feel like nobody really understands them, and you open up and you share honest, raw, personal essays about the struggles you went through, that is the bridge. Maybe they are suddenly feeling like they're not alone. They're feeling understood. They're feeling like there is someone else who's been through the same struggles, and I can do this as well. I can make it through these dark times. This will look different for all of you, depending on what you want to write about and what your intentions are. But either way, even if you have a small check mark, you have overcome a small thing in your life, you faced some struggles, and you want to help other people overcome these struggles or have a better, just have a better day because you are writing funny stories, or have an easier life when it comes to personal development, business, entrepreneurship, whatever it is. You can really write about anything you want. You are building a bridge for your audience. And in order to do that, the first step we want to take, and this is all about making baby steps, right, is creating a profile that stands out. And actually, this is kind of, or what we're trying to do is not standing out, but actually being strong and confident in what we do. I see a lot of people who try to stand out by the way they format or just design their profiles or format their stories. That is the least thing you want to do. You really don't want to have a colorful profile that sticks out. You want to have a strong profile message. It's not about colors and images. It's about having a few lines in there that tell us who you are and what you can do for us. And I'm just going to share a few examples with you. So on my profile, as you've seen, we have a very basic formula, actually, where I say, I help you do X, Y, Z. You could replace that with, I help you achieve, or I help you be. Just fill the gap. And I'm just going to go through some profiles so you get an idea of how this can look like in real life. I have the profile of my friend Justin Cox here. Some of you might know. Who is here because of Justin? Let me know in the comments. Justin has a very similar profile formula, actually. He says, I help writers and nonprofits grow. So he is very clear in helping writers and nonprofits. Again, very similar formula. All right. Justin, we have some people being here because of Justin. Amazing. If we continue, I might know some of these creators as well. So some of you might be here because of Victoria or because of Ananksha. They have very similar formulas used on their profiles too. So Victoria says, solopreneur, SEO writing expert, helping companies attract potential customers through organic search results. That's what she does. That's what she often writes about, but that's what she primarily uses to attract clients and to show her expertise here. Then we have Ananksha saying, writing about life as a full-time creator and helping new writers get started. Again, very clear in what her message is. Then we have my friend Nicholas Göke here, who's using a totally different style, and he is saying, I write for dreamers, doers, and unbroken optimists. And this actually leaves a lot of room for interpretation. So this could mean a lot, right? But the thing is, Nicholas also writes stories that are very story-driven, inspirational. And this is really the kind of writing that he does. And he really follows his words here and is writing for dreamers, doers, and unbroken optimists. And this is why his profile bio makes so much sense. Then we have Suli Rain. Who is here because of Suli? Let me know in the chat box. Who is again using a slightly different formula. She is describing herself using a few nouns. She's saying content creator, cat mom, six-figure entrepreneur. And then she's promoting her newsletter. This is amazing because she is adding two things here that are proving her credibility. You know, if someone is a six-figure entrepreneur, it means that she could probably teach you a thing or two. She's a content creator, but she's also a cat mom. This is important for her personally. So she's adding it to her bio, even though this is not the most important thing about her work. This is who she is as a person. And so she is just adding it to her bio. And if you are a cat mom or a cat lover, you are probably going to pay attention to her work simply because this will stand out to you. What else do we have here? We have Michael Thompson, who has another type of profile formula that I like a lot. He says, co-creator of two cool boys with an equally cool woman. The reason this makes sense for his profile is because he often talks about his sons and his wife and his personal relationships in his stories. He's using a lot of storytelling in his work, and he's telling stories about his real life experiences. So the reason this makes sense in this case is because it relates back to the kind of work he is doing. So it's not just randomly put in here and then he is writing articles about coding or about building a business, which has nothing to do with the statement he has here. But instead, he really relates his stories back to what he has put into his bio. All right. Let me just quickly check the comments box to see if there are any questions. Okay, let's move on. So we have three very simple formulas here that you can use if you feel stuck or if you feel like you need a refreshment or if you are just brand new on Medium and you want to create your bio from scratch. You can tell us who you are writing for and just say, I write for XYZ. If you have an idea on the key audience that you want to write for, this is a wonderful way to clearly state who you are writing for. You could also do a bio that is along the lines of, I help you do XYZ, achieve XYZ, be XYZ, whatever it is that you aim to be or that you want to create in terms of the solution that you provide in your articles. You could also just use a few strong nouns to describe yourself, but if you do that, make sure it does make sense for the work you are creating. So we do want to have some sort of connection between who we are in our bio and what we are sharing in our stories. It shouldn't be completely unrelated, because if somebody sees your bio next to an article you publish, it should be aligned. There should be some sort of overlap and match, and they should know that, okay, they want to follow your profile because they can expect to see more similar stories based on your bio. Then we have a few different elements in our bio that we should put or pay close attention to. And I actually see a question related to that as well. First of all, your profile picture is important. You really do want to have a clear profile picture that shows your face, that creates sympathy. You don't want to have a blurry profile image. You don't want to have sunglasses on or anything like that. Your image is very small actually on your profile page, and yet it is a way for readers to get an understanding of who you are. And you should just feel comfortable with it. You don't have to go into a professional photo shooting or anything, but just pay attention that it is nice and that it kind of represents who you are. And then you can also think of adding credibility to your profile. One way to have credibility in your profile is by having an audience. But obviously, you don't have that in the beginning. So when you have a large audience, this will act as your credibility. When you have certain credentials, it's easier to just put them in your bio. An example here is Nick Volney, who adds all the places where he is featured as a credibility. So he says he's a senior editor, he's a contributor, etc., etc. So on all these platforms. And then he says he's writing essays on craft, online business, and LGBTQ. So he is adding the credibility even before he tells you what he's writing about. And I actually saw a question related to that in the chat box that I quickly want to answer here. So I saw Jessica's question about adding credentials like degrees to your profile. If it adds to your credibility and it makes sense and you are writing about that specific area, you can mention it. If your degree has nothing to do with your writing, I wouldn't mention it because it's not relevant to your readers. And you always need to be careful because your readers will not trust you a lot more because you have a degree in a random topic. If you are writing about health, for example, and you have a degree related to that, that's going to add to your credibility because if I see that you have a degree in there, I'm going to know that I can trust you as a writer as well. So it's always kind of a thin line of what are you writing about and what exactly is the credential that you have on your profile. If it's not related to the topics you write about, it's probably not going to be relevant at all. All right, let me see if there are any other questions. Yeah, another great question actually here. What about just having your logo as a profile image? That's the next slide that I have prepared here. If you don't want to show your face as a writer, you want to use a pen name maybe, and you just don't want to get into showing your personal life and showing your personal face, or you want to write under a brand name, you can do that as well. So here are two screenshots of bios where people are not using real photos of themselves in their bios and still managing to stand out and actually have wonderful bios, in my opinion. If you are writing with a brand name, you can also use a logo. It's not very common to use a logo on Medium, but you can do it if you have a bigger picture in mind and you are writing with the goal of building the brand with that logo in the first place. So you could do that, but it's not very common. So people are not used to seeing logos on Medium. Let me see if we have any other questions here. Okay, nothing related to bios right now. All right, let's move on. Everything we talked about here is about building your personality and your bio as a writer. So thinking about how you want to be perceived in the outside world. But creating your bio is a lot more than just thinking about how you want to be perceived. If you get clear about the message you want to communicate and about who you want to be as a writer, you're also finding purpose and meaning in your writing. And as you can see on this beautiful image that I actually randomly found last week, purpose is one side of building your career and of building a productive writer. Once you have the purpose, which is aligned with what you want to communicate to the outside world, The next step is making it a priority, making your writing a priority, showing up consistently and creating value, getting in front of people, and being careful about what you share with the world. So these are the two elements that we have here that I think are illustrated wonderfully in this image. So we have the purpose covered when we know how we want to show up, when we know who we want to be as a writer. And then the next step is, how do I make it a priority to show up consistently? All right, let me go into the recap. So what we covered today is that building a large and loyal audience is a journey. You have to enjoy the process because it might take a while. Even if you have shortcuts, it's not something that's happening overnight. It's a process you can genuinely enjoy if you're in it for the long run. Second point is that sticking to a few core topics is a lot easier and more powerful for you as a writer than sharing your opinion on everything that crosses your mind. And the third point is that a simple and strong bio helps you build credibility and sympathy. It helps you stand out. It helps you build an audience because they trust you and because they want to come back to your work. I have a question here that I quickly want to address. So Jenny says, what is the difference between your bio and your profile? Your bio is essentially the key element of your profile. Your bio on Medium is also displayed next to an article when you open the article. So you could have an article open, and on the right-hand side on the web version, you see the bio. When you click on somebody's profile, so when you click on somebody's name, you are seeing the full profile, including the bio, but also the previous stories this person has written. And the bio is the key element that you basically create, or that you can change up, because that's where you share who you are, what you do, and your profile image. So your bio is the key element of your profile. All right, let me see what else we have here. Right, let me move on with my slides, and then I'm gonna come back to the questions if we have anything related to the session and to bios. So in tomorrow's session, we are going to take a look at online writing as a place to share your thoughts and to reach people. We're gonna look at virality and at ideas. So a lot of people here are asking, no, how do I decide what I want to write about? How do I come up with ideas? And that's the stuff that we're gonna cover in tomorrow's session. If you have not signed up yet for the masterclass on Thursday, make sure you do that as well. You'll receive a separate login link for the Thursday session, because it's gonna be a lot longer than those sessions that we have right now, simply because we have a lot to cover and because I'm already running out of time for today's session again. And then we also have some exercises prepared for you. So all of you who are action takers, take a look at your workbook. You can find it in the emails, you can find it in our community, and you can also find the link to the workbook in the chat box in a few seconds. We have prepared some exercises for you to complete. So we do want you to update or create your Medium profile or your bio, and we want you to share it with us so we can take a look and give you feedback, so you can get feedback from all the other participants in the community. We want you to think about your billboard message. This is really important because it's going to shape how you want to show up and how you want to create as a writer. And then we have created a very special element for this challenge. We have created a form that you find in your workbook, but you'll also find the link in our challenge community, that you can use to share your writing with other writers here, so you can connect with each other. We don't want you to randomly follow each other, but we want you to scroll through the list of writers that we have here and connect with the ones you believe have similarities, you believe have similar interests like you. Maybe they are writing about similar topics. Maybe you feel like you could collaborate. Maybe you want to find some accountability buddies in here and support each other's writing. So fill out the form so you get put on this list, and then scroll through the list and reach out to the writers in this community that you believe have something in common with you. Reach out to the people whose writing you admire. Maybe you find some writers who are writing about topics that you really like to read about as a reader, not just as a writer to get inspired. So you have tons of opportunities here to explore each other's work, and really want to encourage you to make use of this. In tomorrow's session, we are going to talk about getting control, as I already mentioned. And one aspect of getting control is understanding the difference of having lots of articles written or lots of content created, but not being able to properly monetize your work, compared to someone who is happily showing up and successfully monetizing her work. So we are going to talk about the difference between writers who are struggling to monetize and writers who are successfully monetizing their work. All right, let me see what we have here. So we have all instructions. So we have instructions on how exactly to complete your exercises based on the workbook descriptions. You can just take a screenshot of your bio and post it in the comment section of today's homework. And you can also share the links in the form that we have. So you have different opportunities. It really depends on how you want to do it. And ideally, and should it be my blog or the work that is just under my name? We want you to share your Medium profiles with us so that you can connect with other writers who are sharing their work on Medium. So I hope this helps. So let me see what else we have here. We have a question about the Google form, saying the Google form is locked. You submit through the form. You don't add your details into the spreadsheet. So the form is not locked. You can submit your details into the form. You find the link in the chat here or in the workbook. And then your details are automatically added to the spreadsheet. All right. If you have any other questions about what we discussed today, you want to dig deeper into something, you want feedback from others, always feel free to make use of the community, of the Facebook community. Let us know what you thought. Let us know how you are moving on with the homework. And then last but not least, our VIP session is happening in 10 minutes. So if you are a VIP member, take a short break now and come join us in about 10 minutes to discuss any open questions that are left from today's session or yesterday's session. And let's see which kind of improvements we can make. I'm just taking a few more minutes to scroll through the comments here to see if there's anything we left out. We have an interesting question here. Is it okay to include an emoji in your bio? It is okay. I had emojis in my bio for quite a long time. Just make sure that you use emojis that are properly displayed on the web version, on the app version, and on all devices. So don't go too wild. So I wouldn't recommend using more than 1 or 2 emojis. You can do that, but make sure they are properly displayed. So check on different devices and on different ways to access your profile, so you're sure there is no issue with that. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see. All right. I don't see any other questions at this time. So thank you so much for being here today. I will see you in tomorrow's session. Until then, have fun completing your homework, share your answers, your links, your profile with us so that we can take a look, so that we can all support each other and help you grow your audience, especially if you're a brand new writer. Connect with the others. Take a look at what others are doing. Take a look at other people's bios, other people's descriptions, and how they are how they are showing up. Maybe you get inspired by some of the other writers in this community. Maybe they can spark some ideas that you can use for your own profile. All right, thank you for being here. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.